So many of you, probably most of you, know and realize that 3D printing is a great add-on hobby to FPV flying. Fact of the matter is that if you can 3D print a lot of your own parts, you can save yourself money, you can solve a lot of problems. It's pretty well known, well understood. 3D printed accessories form things like GoPro mounts and things like that. And so I thought, let me put together a little 3D printing primer. What do you got to know? What do you got to be able to do? If you wanted to start in on this hobby, what are some things that you need to know?
Oh, yeah. Through, yeah. Just watch my soul.
Yeah, I'm feeling sexy cool.
So this is my printer. This is a smaller desk printer called the Monoprice, the Maker Select Mini. It has a print volume of 120 millimeters cubed. It's a great printer. So let's go over the parts of the printer real quick. So this right here is the stepper motor. And this stepper motor is responsible for feeding this filament through this tube into the hot end. And here we can see the hot end. And there we go. We can see the tip of the hot end right there. The hot end obviously heats up and helps extrude the plastic. Now, the filament itself is 1.75 millimeters in diameter. The hot end is actually 0.4 millimeters in diameter, or maybe actually smaller than that. Point being is you're taking a large amount of filament and you're squeezing it into a small space, and that's how you extrude it. It comes out a little bit like toothpaste. Right here, we see the print bed. And the print bed is the surface on which you print. Now, this is probably, I'm going to go on the record as saying this is probably the most important thing you've got, because if your print doesn't adhere, which in my little time lapse you see that the print released at the end of the print, which it shouldn't have. If your print doesn't adhere, you're not going to be able to print. Moreover, if it's not level, it's not going to be able to print. If it's too far from the hot end, it's not going to be able to print. This piece right here is, at least on this printer, you can see it's kind of got these little screws right there. That helps me adjust the height and adjust the level, and then you can kind of see that clear glass on top of it. And that is what's called a PEI sheet. Now, a lot of folks print onto blue painter's tape with hairspray or some kind of Elmer's glue on it. I did that for quite a while. It was kind of a pain. I found out about this stuff called PEI, and PEI is just a plastic sheet that happens to adhere to most filaments pretty well. Now, my bed is heated, and so I can actually get my bed up to 60, 70, 80 degrees Celsius, and that helps things adhere. There's one more thing I want to tell you about. This style right here, where you've got the stepper on top of the machine or some kind of tube in between the stepper and the extruder. And this is called a Bowden tube style printer. Okay, here's the thing you gotta know. This sucks for TPU. Technically, I'm not even supposed to be able to print TPU on here. When I do print TPU, I've got to babysit it. What ends up happening is the TPU, since it's flexible, can back up in this tube, right? So if I'm trying to push a bunch of stuff out very quickly, then it can twist around, back up, and eventually it can back out of this right here. And it'll start feeding out of the top of this. And when that happens, my print's done. There's very little chance of recovering it unless I jump on it right away. So I can't let this printer just go when I am printing TPU. There's another style, which the stepper motor, instead of being connected with this tube, the tube would actually go out to here. The stepper would not be here, it would be located here. And that's called a direct drive. If you're interested in printing for quads, I'm going to recommend that you get a direct drive printer. Just because of the fact that you will be able, that is the style of drive that you need in order to print TPU.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've reached the 1-800 love line.
Filaments are the plastics that you use that eventually get heated into the hot end and then get extruded out. and end up being layered onto the print bed. Now, there's all kinds of filaments. There's TPU, there's ABS, there's PLA, there's nylon, there's PETG. Each of them has their own properties, their own pluses and minuses. Probably the two primary ones that I print with are PLA and TPU. Now, this right here is PLA, and it is a slightly stiff filament. I can bend it like this, and if this one might actually break because it's a little bit old, but you can see the white part in there. It is a stiffer filament than, say, something like a TPU. This TPU is, I'm not going to be able to break it in half. It is a flexible filament, and in point of fact, a lot of your quad parts are printed in some form of TPU. And so, you might find Hashbox TPU or a type of filament called Flexion. There's all kinds of TPUs out there. And the TPUs are soft. They provide shock dampening. They provide vibration dampening. And that's why they're often chosen as the probably go-to filament in 3D printing for quads.
It's better than Great Gary. It's Soul Glow. And to all you lovers out there,
the time lapse that I've been showing you throughout this is called a Benchy, and you can see right there it didn't go very well. Benchy is a 3D printing torture test, and Benchy, this is actually a really hard print right here. For it to come out, even with the smokestack, because it released as well as it did, is actually kind of a pretty good print. So there you have it. 3D printing in a nutshell. It's a great addition to your quadcopter flying. It can save you a lot of money. There's a lot of other things you can do with it. You can design your own parts, whatever. But take it easy.
that's it. Keep the needle on the record. 'Cause me and the boys are gonna have a boogie. Now, where's my dancing socks?